Good morning, everybody. This is Jack Gleason with Startuptrading.com. It is 9 o'clock in the morning, July 21st, 2020. For our economic news events this morning, we had core retail sales out of the Canadian dollar. And then after the bell, we're going to have CB leading index at 10:30 out of the Australian dollar. Really nothing for the U.S. markets. This evening, we'll have flash manufacturing PMI for the yen, retail sales for the Australian dollar, and MI leading index. Overnight, we're going to have, actually there's no news this evening. So the big news that's really just not quite listed on here is the European Union agreed on a $750 billion coronavirus rescue package, which is sending pretty much almost everything higher. Gold, silver indexes continuing their trends from the prior day. Reminder, Wednesday we have a bank holiday for the Japanese markets as well as Thursday. So bank holiday for the yen on Wednesday and Thursday. And then really our red star news events are going to come in for the euro on Friday. So I did title this video Oil Daily Breakout and a $750 billion pump. So let's take a look at what oil looks like on this daily chart. We have been in a consolidation for weeks now, really unable to get above what was the 50% retracement from last year. We're above that level after making higher highs and higher lows for the weeks of consolidation. We are through that resistance level here in the overnight session. The rally began yesterday off a reversal of a retest of a 50% retracement long in the CL markets. Now, last week on Wednesday, we had a 50% retracement back from what was Tuesday's low to that Wednesday high. We retested those levels yesterday at the open, and we've gone straight up. This 41 is going to be an anchor in the future, and we are bullish above a 41.50 here in CL. However, in the overnight session, there's such a powerful move. It has its own sequence, and that sequence is a same anchor new high from 41.28 the high. We traded it once to target at about 4:30. We had a same anchor new high at like 6 a.m. and then this same anchor new high for the third time has now traded and bid off its 38% retracement. That upside target is 42.53 here for oil. So just a reminder, if you take a look at oil, this daily chart, I don't really have any, now that this is that previous gap fill, it filled, we've broken through. I have no real resistance. I'm looking at the low going back to March 2nd. So that's still a bit of up and away. And this long of a consolidation for us to break above, oil should be a technical trade to the upside till at least we get up into that level, which is going to be a 43.70, which is $1.50 higher from where we are currently trading. So I wanted to go over that first thing here this morning. I will then move on to the metals markets, which are also moving, gold and silver, specifically silver with one of the biggest moves all year here in the overnight session. It's up like 6%. Gold has finally completed this weekly halfway back long. There was a 50% retracement in gold that traded in March, traded in April, came back and retested in June. So we spent 4 months consolidating, and those upside targets were 1839.9, so it's like 1840. We've completed those targets here, and on the weekly chart, we will begin using the March highs to highs in the future for pullbacks. However, on the smaller time frame, we'll go to the hourly chart. Coming out of a 50% retracement that traded last Tuesday, we have completed that profit target. And if we're going to continue to go straight up here in gold, we should do it. There's two different levels. One is the extension from the high going back to July 8th to high. That is the most aggressive anchor. That 50% retracement is going to be 1836.8. We also have yesterday's extension to extension. It's an 1821.42 high, and that is going to be right below. But everything above 1830 here in gold is bullish. Everything above 1830 in gold is bullish, and there's just two variations of long setups. Moving on to silver, we are up 6%, a $1.20 move in the overnight session, which is incredible. Yesterday, at around the European Open, we were trading the highs of 2019. From that point to where we are now has been an incredibly large move, basically the biggest move since the lows were put in, and we have moved all the way up to the highs of 2016. Yesterday's video was titled Silver Multi-Year Breakout, and that's exactly what we got. We literally just skipped through that resistance, and so far on the week, we have a $1.89 range, which is a very big range for silver. Just, once again, take a look at this monthly chart and the strength of this move. It'll continue up from here, but now that we were clearing this 2016 high, I don't really have any resistance till you go back to where we started breaking down, and we started breaking down in 2013. So this is a multi-year breakout, and I'll continue to focus on that trend because that trend is extremely aggressive. We've also completed a negative 61 of the traditional that traded in June. Okay, so at any point in time, even on the higher time frame weekly daily chart, we're going to have an extension from what is June 1st high to high. And on the higher time frame, everything is bullish above that 61.8, and that's all the way down really just at yesterday's, inside of yesterday's range. So any short would be a counter trend trade. Going from the overnight session, and I'll just follow this sequence up, we initially had what was the highs of Thursday of last week, the high. That was the first setup yesterday morning. And then we pulled into that target. We actually started a traditional sequence. We held the halfway back long for the day at that point in time. That blew out of targets, held an extension in the European session. Right at 12:30, we caught that bid. We've gone straight up from that point. So that is the last anchor to be used, 2030 to targets. And we are in a brand new extension here. And that is from the 2085 to high. We are bullish above a 2111. And even if we pulled back into that level, there is other variations of long setups below. There is no short in trend here for silver. This is a multi-year breakout. Moving on to, I do want to go over the VIX. The VIX has an extension short from the lows of 25.53 to low. Now this traded on Monday. We had a same anchor new low into the close. It's completed its targets. That same anchor new low, the 38% retracement, is 24.50. If we do trade that VIX resistance at 24.50, there would be correlating index support. And with that, I do want to go to the Russell, which has been holding this 38% retracement of the extension. The Russell's upside targets are 1501.4, 1501.4. And coming out of really this last low, I'll follow the sequence from the 1230 low to high. We had a traditional, that same low to high was used again. We've now blown through those targets, and there is an extension here from the overnight highs, 1471. We are bullish above 1476 here in the Russell with higher time frame targets all the way up at the 1500 level. The S&P 500, let's back out to the daily, talk about where those daily targets are. From the pullbacks we had on June 15th, our targets are 3372, and yesterday we broke out of the June highs. We broke out of the June highs. We are on our way to making new all-time highs again. Just right back at it. And the smaller time frame, what we want to pay attention to is there's a couple of variations of different anchors, but everything above 3247s I have is bullish. And the two possibilities here, we have the continuation from the overnight sequence or just the higher time frame sequence from yesterday. So I'm going to go to a 15-minute chart. The last extension we had into close here, guys, was this 32. It's a 32.3175. That completed all of its targets. That same anchor new high would be the more conservative pullback. And that 38% retracement is 32.57. This here, you could argue for the extension to extension. We did trade this once to target, and then that same anchor new high initially was front run at its 38. So I'm drawing it to the new high. The first test of 32.6175 will be support, and then if that does not trade, it'll be 32.57. So 32.6175 and then 32.57 are your first two support levels here for the S&P 500. Moving on to the Dow, also two variations of an extension. The more aggressive variation is drawn from 26,654 to high, and that is what we're currently trading on our 38% retracement. But what I'm looking at is the high of 26,537 a high. This is what traded into the close, so that's the more conservative anchor. The 38% retracement is at 26,727. The 50% retracement is 26,691. I'll share these levels with everybody in the trade room. If you're not in the trade room, make sure you join with the link below. Moving on to the NASDAQ, which, let's look at the higher time frame. We're right back at all-time highs. There was a sloppy halfway back long. It dipped in on Thursday. We held Friday and Monday. We've blown out of targets. If I were to close my eyes and place one trade in the indexes, it would be this NASDAQ extension at its 38% retracement. It's 10,946. That is the high of Wednesday to high, 10,946. Now, there is the more aggressive anchor, as there always is, which was the last anchor to trade into the close. And that is from 10,863 to high. We traded this in the after hours. Our highs are right at that negative 61. That same anchor, new high, the 38% retracement is right below us. It's 10,983. And then we have a 50% retracement, which lines up with the prior day's high at 10,960. So really, when you have different variations, the trend is very bullish here. We're not going to know what is going to be the low, right? There's no knowing what's going to be the low. It's about getting into a trade where you can take half of the position off and then ride the remainder of it. But both of those are valid setups, and obviously this is a very bullish market. You just have to use the average true range to determine first targets and look for a runner on that second half. USDJPY looks like could possibly fall out of cliff. Now we do have Wednesday, Thursday yen bank holidays. I don't know if that's going to have much of an effect here on the end, because this is definitely still traded outside of Japan, obviously. But we have this trend line. We had 1, 2. Yesterday was the third touch. Here we're coming into the fourth touch. This trend line, however, when it breaks, we have many 50% retracement shorts, and all of the targets point lower. There's a 50% retracement short from what was like the highs of March to low that never has completed. We had 1, 2 tests there. Then from that high there in June to low, we had a 50% retracement short at 107.95. Those targets are all the way down at 105.77. And then we have the halfway back from July highs to the low. That's traded multiple times here. And you can see we've just been consolidating sideways. The halfway back traded on Tuesday. It traded on Thursday. Sunday night, we dipped in, a little bit of a stop run, instant reversal. And then we had this 50% retracement short setup where we basically pierced the 61, made it a little sloppy, but that's going to have a downside target of 106.91. So we have many downside targets here for the USDJPY. We have many downside targets for the USDJPY. And a break of this trend line is just going to lead to a stop run. We'll be taking out the low of the day, then we'll take out the low of prior day, etc., etc. But that's what happens when you break trend lines, and we'll be moving down to our profit targets. So very bearish setups here in the USDJPY. Moving on to the Australian dollar, which has completed a traditional measured move and moved into an extensions. We have the high of Wednesday to high. Once to target, same anchor new high. We are bullish above a 70.61 for the Australian dollar. And if you look at the daily chart, we have just broken through the highs of 2020. We have just broken through the highs of 2020. So this extension is very important to watch and pay attention to. The 38% retracement is 70.76, and it's a very technical move as we get through those highs. Anytime you get through a high of a year or through a low of the year or through major support, through major resistance, you have very technical moves. So watch this Aussie dollar. The euro, we had that $750 billion package come out. Now, the euro looks crazy here, but we basically have two different variations. The more aggressive variation is an extension from the high of July 6th, and the conservative traditional pullback is from the low of July 10th. So there's a traditional from July 10th that's at 113.60. I'm going to bring that over. And there is an extension which yesterday tested its 50% retracement at the 114.07. We rotated the highs. We came back down. We tested the 38. So this extension is still in play. And its upside target is a 114.98, which does line up with a daily swing mark. A daily swing mark is up there. For the pound has broken through some highs here. But what I'm looking for is a more conservative pullback. I would think we could at least get back to the 126.55. This is the extension that completed targets in the overnight session. The anchor has traded once, twice. This would be the same anchor new high. In the 50% retracement, I'm lining up with the overnight lows. It's the overnight lows. It's a 126.54 for the GBPUSD. The USDCAD has aggressively sold off. We broke through lows. And we have actually completed a profit target. Now, this was a pretty sloppy 50% retracement short. It broke at 61. We retested in a front run on Sunday night, and we've been selling off ever since into a completion. Now, there's a possibility, now that we've completed, at some point, we get a full 50% retracement short from the high of the week to low, because the lows of that completion. And the continuation, which I will not take because we completed that target, the break of the short trend would be a move above a 134.68. If we broke 134.68, there would be pullbacks into the counter trend up into the 135.18. So we'll have to pay attention to what happens at 134.68. I'm going to set an alert at or above that level. Okay, but there's a lot of markets that are very technical. I encourage you to use free trades to your advantage. Pick the support levels that you want to trade, especially in the indexes. Gets a little tough when there's different variations. I prefer, if you're looking to take one over the other, I prefer to go with the more conservative setup personally, just because those are the ones with the bigger targets. So there's two variations of extensions in all three indexes here. The NASDAQ had the hardest run, but if you look at the overnight strength, the Russell has the strongest move from the overnight session. And the currencies are very technical here. The Australian dollar extension is definitely something to pay attention to as we broke out of the highs of 2020, and the potential trend line break of the USDJPY that would lead us to the higher time frame downside targets that we've had for some time. But that's going to wrap up my morning trade plan. Everybody trade safe. If you enjoyed this content, please give this video a thumbs up. Feel free to share with anybody you might think is interested in trading. If you're interested in joining the chat room, click the link below. It's filled with all sorts of good stuff, sharp traders, etc. And I'll catch you guys there. Have a great day. But that's going to wrap up my morning trade plan. Everybody trade safe. If you enjoyed this content, please give this video a thumbs up. Feel free to share with anybody you might think is interested in trading. If you're interested in joining the chat room, click the link below. It's filled with all sorts of good stuff, sharp traders, etc. And I'll catch you guys there. Have a great day.